Hello, welcome to Box to Board. Now, every now and again, geek culture starts to influence the mainstream. We've seen it with things like Star Wars, Star Trek, and the rise of the media on demand networks like Netflix and Amazon Prime in how they use Marvel, for instance. One of the most exciting developments over the last couple of years has been the rise of a whole universe called The Loop. And we're going to look at that tonight, and where it comes from, and why you should be excited about the new series coming out from Amazon Prime in April, and a little bit about the game that you might want to check out either before or after you watch the series. So let's have a look. So this is the third book that Simon Stålenhag has produced, and it's called The Electric State, and it is really pretty. If you haven't seen these, the artwork's just incredible. I'm just going to flick through a couple of bits. It's set in 1997, so this is a bit after, but it gives you the style of it, and also a little bit of kind of what people talk about whenever they say that there's this beautiful artwork. So you get things like this, where it's taken through a window pane in a car, and the rain on it, and you can see the loop. Just is gorgeous artwork. I mean, it's just something else, and it's very otherworldly, and yet it's rooted in our world, and that's where the loop world, the loop universe, is just something else. It's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So you get these very odd images. They look a little bit alien and strangely familiar at the same time, and you just get the feeling there's a story and all of it. There's what are things, and at the side of the book there are bits that it talks about, so like the mechanical pulsing noise faded away, the drone thing turned around, two giant strides waddled into the mist. It's gorgeous, and the universe is just so beautiful. I mean, look at that. It's just awesome. Sorry. So you can see what the fuss is about. Now, the role-playing game, I'm just going to show you this bit. The role-playing game for Tales from the Loop, again, what we can see is the same artwork. Now, they set it in two different places, Malaren and Colorado, and this is, we will go through this a lot more, but this is very, sorry, just catch it. The style, this is one of the iconic images to me. The style of robot is very similar, is incredibly like what you see in the trailers, and you can see some of the archetype, or some of the types, and there's some beautiful art in here again. And it's this, we talk a wee bit about the magnetrines, or we will talk about them, and this is what they are. They're these kind of floating boat things. But the thing that's most obvious is the robotic edge and elements of things that you see in a lot of the pictures, stuff like that, which is, beautiful artwork. The world of the loop comes to life with the artwork of the book. I find it just makes sense whenever you see the pictures of it, and they are images that stick with you. That's Tales from the Loop. The other book that relates directly to the loop is Out of Time, and this kind of bridges between Things from the Flood and Tales from the Loop quite well. Again, with this one, it's some beautiful artwork again. Sorry, and the big thing with this book is it allows you to generate your own missions very easily, and helps you to do that, which can help with campaigns and different things. Flexibility is built into the system. There's and I haven't mentioned it in the other bit, but there's a thing called a mystery landscape, and this helps you to build it up, as well as having a linear system. You've got a system that can allow people to just go about and try and each location has got mysteries to solve in it, and you can give people free rein to see what they do. Now I'm just going to show you Things from the Flood. Now this is set, so up to now it's been set Actually, these two are set in the 80s. The Electric State is set in the 90s. I'm not sure how this overlaps with Things from the Flood, but Things from the Flood is a lot darker. Be warned, these are going to, you know, these are dark images. So you get, you know, things like that. The imagery is much darker, much edgier. The 90s was a bit more dark as a period, globally. So you get these kind of, you know, really odd and quite creepy and horrible images in a lot of ways. But the imagery's, you know, you can see the darkness creeping into it a little bit. Now see if I can find some of the stuff that really freaked me out a bit whenever I first saw it and made me get this. It was just like, wow, that's just so powerful as an image. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, you know, it's kind of grim, but it's such a beautiful, you know, so well done. This image, it just sticks in my head so much. And in the 90s, you're looking at things like the robotic pogroms. So basically, in Russia, the robots want a degree of self-determination, and they end up getting nearly wiped out. So they migrate over the North Pole and to North America. So, you know, things like that. You know, it's just fantastic. Universe. It makes sense as a universe. But there's a lot in here that you can find out about the universe through the book, and it's beautiful in the sense of how it's written. Personally, I prefer playing this. Well, it depends what mood I'm in, really. If I'm in an upbeat, optimistic mood, and with some sets of players, Tales from the Loop's awesome. Things from the Flood, a little bit darker, a little bit richer. Other groups of players, this is the one you'd go for. So it just depends on your party. But that's the books, and that's what they look like, and that's what's inside them. And hopefully you're getting a feel for that artwork, which is absolutely gorgeous and very, very distinctive. Tales from the Loop is based around the world of Simon Stålenhag, and I can never pronounce his name properly, so apologies. Simon Stålenhag is a Swedish artist, I believe, who has a very, very interesting style in the world he's created. It's very photorealistic, but it's actually an alternative world, a world with different technologies, a little bit retro, and actually feels alien, feels weird, feels odd, but feels strangely familiar as well, and a bit nostalgic. And that's the thing that's lovely about it. It's a slightly off-balance version. Also, there's a Nordic sort of feel to it. It's hard to explain, but there's a sense of silence in some of the pictures. There's a sense of isolation. These aren't crowded images. These are beautiful images. So hopefully what you've seen is the style of artwork is something quite special, actually, and something quite unusual. And it's been picked up by a number of different sources. And one of the sources was a company called Fria Ligan, or Free League if you're not Swedish. And they basically took that world, that universe, and turned it into a setting for a role-playing game called Tales from the Loop. Now, if you watch my channel, you will know that I am a big fan of this. If you're a subscriber, and if you're not, you should be, because there's some good stuff that we do every now and again. But Tales from the Loop is, in my humble opinion, one of the best role-playing games I've encountered in a long time. It is fluid, fast, easy to get into, and it's got this incredible setting. And we're going to talk a little bit about that setting now. And I'm basing most of my exposure to this world is through the role-playing games. So we're going to talk about what we can see in those and see where that leads. So Tales from the Loop is set. I've got some notes down here. If you see me glancing down, that's what I'm doing because I'm that professional. It's set in the 80s that never was. It's actually the tagline: role-playing in the 80s that never was. And in it you play different tropes, different types of kid. So you play younger teenagers. So you play people up to the age of 15, and you play a selection from a bookworm, a computer geek, popular kid, rocker, jock, hick, weirdo, troublemaker. You get the idea. And it's set in the 80s, so in my head, whenever I play this, I'm always thinking The Breakfast Club. I'm thinking that, you know, that's the kind of tropes I'm thinking of. Now, role-playing games, if you're not a role-playing game, if you don't play role-playing games, you automatically think of D&D. And actually, D&D is the benchmark. This is a very different beast. This is not a D&D. This is narrative storytelling. And it's a lot of fun. So if you've not played a role-playing game before, this might be one you want to pick up, because this is a very different thing. And it's not being funny, it's more about story than about, you know, murder, kill, murder, kill. As a matter of fact, there's very little of that in this. It's a much more, think the Goonies. You know, you play kids, and you play kids who are trying to keep out of trouble, but trying to solve mysteries. And the mysteries in this universe are quite odd, because in this universe, things didn't work out quite the way that they did in ours. So in the 80s, in the 50s, there was a massive, or just after the war, there was a massive investment in research projects and experimental research projects from across the world, basically. And 3 of them paid off that haven't paid off in our world particularly. So in the 1950s, there was the discovery of a thing called magnetron. The magnetron is just basically a way of transporting stuff across the world using using the Earth's magnetic poles. So it's floating massive cargo ships sort of things. So they're like massive transport systems that float across the sky. And these are very, very different to our world. But they're not unusual to the kids. These are normal things for them to see. This is part of their universe. The other thing there is self-balancing machines. We would call them robots. And they are a big feature of the world, and actually have got a degree of intelligence, and are used in all kinds of different applications, including military and including civilian. So that's quite an interesting dynamic. So you find in the book, I'll see if I can find one, there's quite a few images of robots, and actually in the trailer, if you've seen the trailer for Tales from the Loop, you will see those images of robotic creatures, and typically I can't find one. So for instance, something like this. I hope you can see that. So some robots going on, and they are a feature of everyday life. So they're a feature of what people encounter in their everyday life, and the kids encounter in their everyday life. The third, and this is the bit that's interesting, where the name comes from, is the loop. Now this is in the role-playing game, there's 2 major particle accelerators. There's one in Sweden, in the islands, and I can never remember which islands they are, but let's see. The Malaran Islands, there are this particle accelerator that generates electricity in effect, and is a source of research up in Malaran, and the other one is in America, in Boulder, in Colorado. So, interestingly, and my initial impression is for the series and for the trailer, it's probably set in the Swedish one, which is brilliant. I hope it's set in the Swedish one, because that's a little bit different. And this is the thing I love about this game. It's different. It's not Stranger Things with a slightly different setting. It looks initially as if it's going to be that, but Stranger Things is much more in your face. This is much more subtle. This is much more mature and grown up, in the sense of it's about weirdness and oddness. A quote from the book: "At its heart, this is a game about growing up in the shadow of strange things and solving mysteries. It is about the kids." That's a quote from the book, and that sums it up to me. It's about a child perspective in a strange world, not a horrific world, a strange world, and that's a very, very different beast to Stranger Things. So, to me, this is a very different thing, but the easiest way to explain it to people is it's a bit like Stranger Things, but not quite. So the first thing is you're in this kind of world and this is going on, but as well as that, in the game, adults are distant. The world is dangerous, but the kids won't get harmed. So in Tales from the Loop, one of the big distinctive characteristics is your characters don't die. However, they can get harmed. So it's a world that is kid-friendly, so to speak, and you play kids in it, you play teenagers. Now, the beauty of it as a gaming system is you've got a lot of fun in that you get to play, how can I put this? You get to play teenagers. You get to play young teenagers, and if you're an adult, you get to be a bit silly in a way that you haven't been in a while. And because it's set in the 80s, maybe this is just my age, there's an element of nostalgia, because you can do things like you can put on some, music from the 80s. The culture's the same, but there's something different in this world. So you can put on a bit of the music. In our group, we had a period, we kind of played about with it, and we put on the night before. We would sit on social media and send backwards and forwards songs from the 80s, film titles, video clips from the 80s, trying to get that vibe and that feel. And actually, it's quite good fun, that nostalgia element of it. The thing about it is, as well, because it's set in the 80s, there's an optimism about the game, which is quite refreshing if you live in our day and age. And it's hopeful. It's a game that's set with danger, but you actually have this overwhelming sense of it's not dark. And I guess that's one of the things about Tales from the Loop. It's a not dark set of mysteries in an age whenever everything's dark. This is very different. This is a little bit of neon in a black and white world. It's something else, it's something else, which is really quite cool. You have a lot of creativity, because the way the system works, it's not the kind of game where you're going to spend most of your time trying to work out. RPGs can be a bit impenetrable. They can be really difficult for people to get their head around. This is a very accessible game. So basically the way it works, you get some skills from your character and you get some attributes, and each attribute and skill gives you a dice. And you roll the dice, and if you roll a 6, it's a success. There's some other bits you can do to modify it, but at its core, that's what you're trying to do. And the beauty of that is, it's easy. It's just easy. It's not a difficult thing. You explain what you're going to do, you roll the dice, and if you get the 6s, you do it. There you go. And you get to role play. You get to do the whole thing about, being the jock or being whatever, or being the weirdo. You get to role play those things, and you get to do silly things that kids would do in this game, which is kind of fun. Out of all the role playing games I play, this is the one where I'll have the most belly laughs in a session. This is the one where people will giggle. This is the one where you have water cooler moments that you talk about the next day with people who understand gaming a little bit and go, wait, this moment. So it's just so much fun. It's just a lot of fun. I think this is a very, very good gateway into role playing. I think it's an awesomely good gateway into role playing. It's a really good way of getting yourself into this position of having a laugh. If you get people that have watched, the next couple of months you're going to encounter people who watch the series, and if they love the series, and get them to have a go at this, they're going to enjoy it. The mysteries tend to be fairly light, actually, by adult standards. So there are things like dealing with dead birds, and a menace of dead birds, and why the birds are dying, or why pets are dying around the place. Strange mind controlling machines that work on adults and make them do crazy things, and could go horribly wrong, and we could have a terrible situation, but as the kids, you save the day. Another one, we've got time travel into the Cretaceous period. We have one where we've got evil robots trying to infect us all with a deadly plague. We have ones that are a little bit scarier, but they're not much. This is not a terrifying game. This is a fun game, and the mysteries have got enough tension to keep you interested, but not so much that you're sitting going, ah. This is not horror at all, which is brilliant. And violence is not a big feature of these games. It's about solving mysteries. So from a point of view of getting people to play who would not normally play role-playing games, I think this is a great gateway. It's a great way to, and actually, forget being a gateway, you could have a lot of fun with this. Also, in its own right, also what you find is, within the game, there's also an expansion called Out of Time, and one of the things that it does really well is it talks about how you can play this game, how you can adapt it to where you are, how you can adapt it to a different place. And you can actually do a nostalgia trip around your own world, and it helps you a little bit with that and what you can do, and how you can set up missions and mysteries. So there's a mystery machine, and it tells you how to do that, and randomly generate things. This is worth it. These two together are brilliant. I think that's everything you really need to play a number of games. This some of them I mentioned in the role-playing game. If you pick it up, there's also, I think it's four mysteries, probably about 6 to 8 hours of gameplay. So you've got a fair few sessions there that are sitting ready-made for you. So as a GM, you don't have an awful lot to do in some respects. And because the system's simple, you can be very flexible and creative with it anyway, so you can adapt very quickly. Tales from the Loop is an outstanding universe, and my hope for the series is that it follows this a little bit. I'm hoping it's going to be set in Sweden, and judging by the actors, which I'm very excited about from the trailer, it is going to be something else, because it does not look like Colorado. It looks a lot more northern than that, and I'm fingers crossed, although the signs are in English, fingers crossed we're looking at something that has got that Nordic feel. What is really exciting to me about the trailers is the fact that the trailers have got the trailers show shots that are virtually out of the book, and the robots look like the robots in the book. So it's kind of, oh, they're getting this right. They're putting their money where their mouth is, Amazon, and they really are getting this right. I really, really, really have high hopes for this. I may be completely wrong, but I'm hyped about it, and that's unusual. Those of you who know me will know that. Now, history didn't stop in the 80s, as we know. And for those of you who like things a little bit darker, and this is not Tales from the Loop, this is the same universe, but what happens next is Things from the Flood. Now, Things from the Flood is a much darker beast. It is really like the 90s. It's set in the 90s. You play older teenagers, and in this world, things have gone wrong a bit, actually quite a lot. And you can die. Your character can die in this. This is a richer setting, but it is a darker setting. You don't have to play it that way. You can play it as something a little bit more optimistic and upbeat, and it will work. But the mysteries that are in here are darker. They are a little bit more edgy. They are a little bit more scary. You don't have to play them that way. But I think it's actually a little bit stronger as a game, partly because the 90s were more memorable to me because I was a little bit older, but also because I think it has more of it's got a little bit more to play with, and there are a few extra little rules and types in there that make it that little bit more interesting. Having said that, I would always go for this at the start. These are two different games to me, even though they're set in the same universe. This is the fun one. This is the deeper one. There's more gameplay in this. I think this one is a lot more accessible for people who don't role play and haven't got that experience. And actually, it's more of a giggle. You can have a giggle in this, but this one, because you're playing those younger teenagers with all that silliness, you can have a lot of fun with this. This one, the Things from the Flood, a little bit different. The mysteries are a bit harder, things are a little bit darker, and the stories are a little bit more involved, and you can die, and actually the world's a little bit more horrific. It just is, without going into it and spoiling it for people. If you want to check out more about that, we've got videos on the channel about it, and you can have a look. But it's cool. It's very good, slightly different. I think it's a better role-playing game for role players, I think. Having said that, this is so different. There's not a lot out there like Tales from the Loop. So, am I excited about the sorry, I know we've talked a lot about the role-playing games, but actually that's where that's where my experience of the system, of the universe is. I would heartily recommend Tales from the Loop role-playing game for people who haven't played role-playing. If one of you is up for being the GM, subscribe to our channel, and we're doing a little series on how to get into Tales from the Loop as a GM. So tips and how to GM it. We're going to do a little series on that just to help you out. So if there's a group of you that love the series, and one of you wants to pick up the book and lead the mysteries, we are going to go through how to do that in videos over the next couple of weeks, just to give you a hand, really, to be honest, and get you into a really interesting and quite rewarding hobby, a bit of fun, to be honest. This is a series, this is a universe I am stoked for, and actually this series I'm so excited. It's not even funny. So watch it. Now, we do a lot of content, and like I said, we're going to be doing some stuff specifically to support those of you starting out on this system, or starting out with role-playing games full stop, and starting with Tales from the Loop. A couple of things you can do to help yourself. Subscribe to our channel, would be awesome. Check out Free League's website. They've got some pretty good stuff on there too. They've got lots of good stuff on there too. They're a really good role-playing company. But subscribe to our channel. We are completely independent. Everything you see on the screen is stuff we buy with our hard-earned pence, or we borrow, like the book, from good friends of ours. So as a result, we're completely, hopefully you can trust what we say. But if you'd like to support us, there's a couple of ways you can do that. The first is we've got a Patreon, which is currently $1 a month and gets you a discount to the second source, a little bit of revenue we get, and it's only a tiny bit, but through t-shirts, and we've got some pretty cool little t-shirts, through Teespring, and the link is down below. Every penny that comes through that gets fed right back into the channel, and you see it on the screen, or it's the camera behind the screen eventually. So that's kind of what we do, and it'd be great to have you on board, and awesome to have you comment below, and yeah, that's us. But go Tales from the Loop. This is going to be the year of the Loop, and it's going to be amazing. Have a great evening. Thank you for watching, and good night.